Hello, mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
And welcome to episode 151 of the First Circuit Podcast. Tonight's hosts are Ian.
Hello.
Fighter.
Arg.
And myself, Oldbot10025. Tonight's topics will be the MW5 patch notes and Infantry, Mechwarrior, new things for Mechwarrior Living Legends, MWO hotfix, free mech loot bag event, and July 4th event, patch notes and biter spreadsheets, the Warden Pack, Warden event, Warden selfies, and setup sale. All those will be next.
Well, geez, Bob, that's a whole lot of topics you have brought for us today.
Yes.
And can we add on one more topic off the top?
Sure, what's that?
Bob, you recently bought an item that makes you a proper grandpa.
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
show it off?
Yeah, I bought this. And this
He's
is
got a-
awesome, by the way. Oh my god. This helps out so much. So much to read those freaking little cards. But yeah, I actually use this on the computer screen, to tell you the truth. I'm like, okay, what does that say? I mean, sometimes I can't read that stuff. That's what I do. And it worked out pretty good. I mean, what, $6? Really nice.
Yeah.
Really good. That makes me a grandpa now.
Proper grandpa. My grandpa had so many of those. I still have a couple.
Yeah, it helped. It's helping. You know, when your eyes
So yeah,
start going.
old Bob right here putting the old in old Bob.
Yes.
And
old Bob.
speaking of things that are also kind of old news for Mechwarrior 5. I like that one.
Yeah, basically we did the one in June, and then we had a special guest, which is Flying Debris, and now we're catching up on what's been happening with Mechwarrior in BattleTech.
Yep. So like Mechwarrior 5 patch, the patches always seem to just do little bits and pieces. Like just they tell us, oh hey, yeah, we're fixing a whole bunch of obscure bugs. The biggest thing I think here is just when you click the repair mech button, it will try to replace the damaged equipment or destroyed equipment, if you actually have a spare in your inventory, because that button was there for convenience, but it was so inconvenient because you it wouldn't guarantee that you would actually fully repair your mech.
Yes. Like for the most part, it was just faster to actually go into the thing and then press the repair button inside the open mech lab rather than using the repair all button. So many times where I at some point realized, oh wait, I'm missing a couple of heat sinks. Huh. I wish I had known. Like HBS Battletech has those nice symbols for destroyed equipment, and Mechwarrior 5 is just kind of, oh yeah, by the way, if you're missing some performance, I don't know why.
They
Could be.
they wanted to do this kind of minimalist UI. Like you have to actually click a button to expand the mech lab and all that stuff. And part of that was just they wanted to make it easy and accessible. You just click the repair all and it will work. But that wasn't actually a useful shortcut. So
Yep.
they went through all this effort to make a simplified UI that just meant you had to click a whole bunch of buttons saying show more because the UI couldn't allow you
Yep.
to do things more simply.
I mean, we've talked about the simplified UI of the mech lab so often where, yeah, it's beginner friendly, you only swap out weapons, but what if you need ammo? Oh, I'm a newbie with Mechwarrior. I put in the weapon, why can't I shoot my weapon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically with the miscellaneous stuff you have, like with all the ammo, I'm surprised they haven't actually made the color coordination of, like, blue for like energy, like the chemical lasers, and then what is it, yellow for is yellow for missiles? I forgot if it's yellow or not. Just color
Yellow's usually ballistics.
ballistics. Just color coordinated like the ammo systems, because it's a pain in the ass for old people like me to go ahead and look through through all the different things, trying to find a heat sink or B, a special type of ammo. When I'm looking through all the different things. I wish they did that. That'd be nice.
Spreadsheet with the magnifying glass.
Yes.
I have ammo for. Oh, I can't read it. Oh no.
Yeah,
Let
dude,
me
I'm
just use
telling you.
lasers.
Anyway, after like a year or two or whatever, it's mildly more convenient. Hooray!
Yay.
Right.
I'm actually super excited about this. This is just one of those really big pet peeves with Mechwarrior 5 that always bothered me, and it's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, true.
It's way better. Yeah. Beyond that,
Alright.
some bug fixes for Mechwarrior 5. Nothing major.
Yeah.
Yep. The other thing to mention is the Infantry has been released. I know at least on the Steam Workshop.
Yeah.
So now you can, if you want to, add Infantry to the game.
Meh.
Yep. It's
I mean,
also released on Epic Games. I've downloaded and tested a mod on Epic Games. It's all functional.
yeah, it
Have you
works.
guys played with Infantry much yet?
Yes, I have actually. Meh. I stepped on them and shot them, and that's about it. That's all they were really. They're just little things running around. You could step on if you're bored, go run on them, type thing. Yeah, I wasn't impressed. Was not impressed. I was expecting units and not single infantry firing at your guy, like say SRM teams or something, like a 3-man SRM team or recoilless rifle teams against you. They didn't have that. A PPC team would have been perfect. That kind of stuff. But yeah, I was impressed. Was not impressed with that at all. I was,
Yeah, I mean, they designed them to just add some variety, add some flavor, and it shows. They do nothing. Your best bet is to just ignore them because the hitboxes are also kind of funky. Like they're really easy to step on. They're pretty hard to shoot. Even with something like machine guns, it usually takes me salvo to actually hit them because they have really slim hitboxes when they stand up straight.
yeah,
Just walk past them and let them shoot you a couple times.
yeah. They don't really
But yeah,
do much.
I'm with you, Bob. I would have much preferred having squads of infantry, even if you go back to the whole turret issue of Mechwarrior 5, where they can't control spawns and you kind of need to balance. Having those random infantrymen
Hmm.
that are actually a threat. SRM2 teams are definitely a threat to mechs, especially lighter ones. I still would have preferred the challenge over what it is now, especially since it's a mod and you need to consciously enable it anyway.
No, hit that plus button. Yeah. I was not impressed. It was
You need
just.
to press 2 buttons and you need to restart.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Okay, I gotta do that. But yeah, I just wasn't impressed. It was just eye
Well, in
candy,
a way,
basically.
yeah. At least this isn't something that's always in your game, and you have, no choice about. Oh, if I get the DLC, I'm always stuck with these annoying little infantry. It's an optional thing, and if they couldn't make the system that engaging, they shouldn't put a huge amount of work or extra time into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I have not yet heard many things about how moddable the mod is. I've read a couple things in the Mechwarrior 5 modding section, but nothing about infantry really. So I'm gonna be interested to see in the future if we maybe get infantry mods that mods for the mod that fix the mod.
Yeah, yeah.
Until
Yeah,
then, I mean, if I'm running a pack that has space for an extra mod, I might as well enable them. But I'm not stoked. I honestly don't care about them either way.
Well, they put the
Which
Vulcan
is
in there,
depressing.
which is an anti-infantry mech. Basically, it'd just be kind of nice if what it's designed for is to actually shoot infantry, and it actually does something inside the game. So yeah, just wasn't impressed with it.
Yeah, but then you would need infantry. That's a threat. Like I used the arrow specifically because it was the first like that popped into my head with that had machine guns, and machine guns don't make it that much easier. Honestly,
Yeah,
just medium laser is probably more efficient at killing infantry, or small laser even.
or just step on them like I do.
or laser flamer, just infinite ammo, get rid of the nuisances. Having to take ammo is just such a pain.
Yeah,
Yeah, like small lasers have the same range as machine guns, and they also instantly kill them. As far as I can tell, they have like 0.1 HP and just die.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the thing as well with an anti-infantry mech is it really depends how much infantry actually spawn on any given mission, and you have no real way of knowing that or controlling that before going into a mission. So it's not like a counter pick; it's more just a tech option that you pick up and you hope that it will be useful. But
Yep.
yeah, there's without the way to properly reconnoiter the what you're going into ahead of time. There's not much point in having that kind of counterplay.
Yeah, true.
Alright, so yeah, Mechwarrior 5, the infantry mod is finally out. We're not really impressed. We'll see what the future brings. They might announce a new DLC at some point soon. Let's hope it's good.
Battle armor.
Their initial plans were, of course, to release another DLC soon, you know, sort of after this one, at least in their original schedule. So it might be why the patch notes are a bit light, is that, well, they're busy working on the next DLC to try and wow us with it.
Okay.
All right, moving on to a much better Mechwarrior title. Oh well, hopefully we don't know anything about this one yet. Mechwarrior Living Legends 2, originally intended as a mod for Mechwarrior 5. That idea has now been scrapped, as far as I can tell, mostly due to licensing reasons. And Living Legends 2 is planned to be a standalone game in the same way that something like the Wolves game from Pajama Boy are standalone fan games. And yeah, I'm very excited for Living Legends 2. I'm very much looking forward to seeing their progress, but everyone don't get your hopes up too high. They need to basically build a new game from scratch. That's gonna take way longer than creating a Mechwarrior 5 mod. So
True. True.
it has its advantages, it has its downsides.
Okay.
Let's hope they can pull it off. And then moving on to existing Living Legends games. One of the best Mechwarrior titles in existence. Living Legends has always done, how do I call it, development reviews for their past X months of development, just kind of summarizing what they've done. They've published this one for April to June. There are actually some cool things in here that they've done recently. Couple new tanks, including the Shrek, which is one of the more fun inner sphere tanks. They've added new mechs. They've done a revamp for targeting and a couple gameplay things that are really cool. So if you're interested in all of that, check it out. Living Legends is doing a lot of things that none of the other Mechwarrior titles have done before. And it might look a bit scary, but it's still the best Mechwarrior title you can play.
Yeah. I had fun with it. Like when I played it, it wasn't too bad. It was kind of cool just being a battle armor guy. I thought that was awesome actually. I'll go and do that. It was fun.
Yeah, just always adding more toys to the giant toy box, and yeah. I think there's some changes to, like, to the narcs. Oh no, more narc nerfs.
They've nerfed Narcs. Oh no, Narc is getting nerfed in all their games now.
It's too
Yep,
powerful.
it's a tricky game to weapon to balance in PvP, of course.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the heatsink system they've recently introduced, where heatsinks actually take damage if you overheat. I think that's
Oh
also
wow. Okay.
fairly fresh idea. And there's
Okay.
some cool stuff in this game.
Hmm.
Y'all should definitely check it out. Moving on to a game that's less exciting to me. Oh god. Mechwarrior Online. There have been a lot of things in Mechwarrior Online that we have yet to talk about since we basically took a couple week break from this game. One of the things we've talked about last episode were the acceleration and deceleration and turning rate issues with some of the mechs that have been introduced in the agility rework. They have now fixed those, which, I mean, yeah, yay, hotfix.
Yep, the
Was
meme
fun.
Stormcrow was quite funny.
Yep, was fun while it lasted. Sad to see it go. And they have a bunch of new events and singles. Bida, do you want to walk us through the next one?
All right. The next one is the big loopback event for this month. So yeah, when this comes out, there is still a bit of time to do it, and both phases, because it's still being done in two phases, are currently out. And yeah, if you do enough, you will get a free atlas. Now, I already have this atlas, but what entices me more, at least a little, is the prizes. Like at 100, I think you get the glowing atlas eyes, which
Ooh.
otherwise, because it's a bolt-on, would cost something like 1,000 MC. I've never bothered looking really, but yeah, you get the glowing eyes. You get a backpack, I guess. For me, it's a whole bunch of sea bills and an extra mech bay. And you can also get a camo pattern for your atlases if you earn enough. So yeah, it's your usual loot bag. Just play the game. You have plenty of time to do it, or you have had plenty of time, and you eventually get a free mech. You don't have to jump through so many hoops like the other ones.
Price wise, they have basically the same thing as usual, though this time no cockpit items.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And as far, can you get bonus redeems this time? I don't see the Warden pack being mentioned for bonus redeems.
oh yeah, you're right, huh? One-time bonus. Yeah, I actually got it like
Oh,
on the
there it
bottom.
is.
Yeah.
Yep. You can get 50 bonus redeems for the Warden pack, otherwise you just need to earn 200 bags, the
Now what's the
traditional way to get the Atlas for this month.
and what's the way to get the loot bags?
So it's phase one is every 100 match score you get a
Hmm.
bag, and it's cumulative. And the other phase is every 100 damage, which is a
Oh,
lot quicker to do as well.
yeah, true, true.
So yeah,
Wow. Okay.
uh, yeah, it's relatively forgiving. This one, it's not too bad.
It's fairly quick if you're just a decent player. You could actually get there really quickly then.
Hmm.
Okay. Atlas done.
Yep. Just to mention, of course, ages ago there was the July 4th event. I don't think any of us actually did it, so we don't have many
Nope.
actual impressions on it.
No.
That really was ages ago. I completely missed that one.
Yeah, same.
As far as I can tell, it was one of the short events. Like
Yeah.
July 4th Canada Day, that's what, July 4th to 6th, 7th, something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I completely missed it, to be quite honest.
If you get like 7 victories, you get a bunch of colors, and there's other bits and bobs.
Colors are
Ooh,
expensive,
wow.
so yeah.
It was a little awkward in Canada around Canada Day, if you guys remember, with the news
What's
and
that?
the graves at the schools and stuff.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you get colors which are real expensive, like in the shop. So I mean, that's one of the things that when these loot bags or when these events happen, that a lot of times they have colors. And so if you're new and you're trying to actually make your mech look pretty with a lot of bling, go ahead and do these events. I mean, literally, I mean, they give away stuff for free. Colors, GSP, MC, they give everything out pretty much for free. If you're a casual player, even then, play for a couple hours, to go get some cool stuff.
I like
Exciting
these
things.
events. 7 victories on average, gonna take you 14 games, which comes down to
Average,
3 to 4 hours of game time, which isn't a lot, especially if you have the weekend off,
yeah,
since if you are living in the US or Canada.
yeah,
So
true.
I always like these events. Gonna be excited for the day they make a Germany event.
A drone event.
My country doesn't really celebrate itself, so maybe someone else can celebrate us.
But I think people more prefer like doing Oktoberfest. Just, that's the
Hmm.
festive spirit without being nationalistic about it.
Yeah, that's fair. There are steins and such in the game. Hey Matt,
Yeah.
can we have an Oktoberfest event?
Unlock a Steiner pattern or something.
Uh-huh. All right.
Let's get on to the more
Sorry.
recent news. The patch notes. Right. As usual, I've updated my own spreadsheet with this month's updates
Yep.
to hop into it at least. Uh, Gameplay wise, at least the thing they focus on first was the jump jets. I think we should go on and touch on the jump jet changes. Jump jets, of course. Yeah, they have a very scattered kind of performance, such that you can pay a lot of tonnage to get jump jets in your assault mech, and then you can only jump like 5 meters in the air, and it's really slow at doing it. So why are you spending 2 tons per jump jet unless you have a lot of spare tonnage?
Yeah.
And um, we have things like I think jump jet class 5, the smallest jump jets as well, for light mechs. Light mechs really can't find the tonnage or that easily, and their jump jets are weaker than like what you get in 40 tonners and smaller medium mechs. So the best jumping mechs in the game were sort of really the Viper, Assassin, Cicada, etc. Just those you could get a lot of jump height without investing so much tonnage. Whereas if you were a Spider or something like that, you could invest a lot of tonnage into your jump jets, but you're a much smaller mech and you've gotten a lot less out of it. So what they've done is for the smallest jump jets in particular, we have a huge buff to their upward thrust. So when you hit that button, the light mech actually goes up for a change, like in a similar kind of gain as you see in all the other jump jets.
So
So
what you're saying is, if the spider had a phallic shape, it would look like a Blue Origin rocket.
maybe.
Okay. Fine.
But yeah, not many. You usually just take one jump jet on the light mechs, but now when you press the button, the jump jet button, you will actually, use that to help yourself evade. Because I think they probably gave it very little upward thrust to try and nerf it, so that light mechs, because they're smaller targets, oh well, they just can't jump so fast upwards. And it's like, well, there was also a light mech that invested half ton or more into jump jets, like particularly Clan Omnis, Mistlinks, Arctic Cheetah. They're stuck with a certain number of jump jets.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, those have a lot more thrust now. There's a little bit of tuning for class 3, class 4, class 2 jump jets, but the next biggest winner is somewhat class 1 jump jets. They operate almost exactly the same, except instead of expiring after 3.75 seconds, they expire at almost 5 seconds.
Mm.
So you're able to hold the jump jet button down for an extra second or so, which means you can. It doesn't mean you can jump snipe. I think they were afraid, of course. There was an old meta where everyone was jumping around in cataphracts and Highlanders because jump jets
Yep.
had so much thrust. So we don't want bigger mechs with their like Gorse PPC, like the Nightjar or something like that, to be hopping around the place like crazy and to be a very evasive target. But you do still, if you're investing all that tonnage, you want the assault mech to have some mobility, the ability to get around the map. So in my head, it's just like, if it was Mining Collective, if you had an assault mech, you're almost always just sort of stuck waddling up the ramp because even if you had max jump jets, sometimes you couldn't clamber up onto that central platform or into a lot of the platforms. But with this change, with this extra few, second or so of burn time, you have a much greater chance of climbing on top of those buildings and being able to fire from a high vantage point, which
Yep.
is something a lot of assault mechs haven't been able to do.
Yep. And similar, but though to a lesser extent for heavy mechs, I always remember one of my catapults has a build where I just barely missed the top of the mining collector thing. Now it can actually get up there. And another point, we do have a jump jet skill tree. That's my opinion, very much underpowered compared to other skill trees, but with no 5 seconds rather than 3.75, the extra duration from the tree matters a bit more, at least. It's not
You like
insane,
jumping,
but it
yeah.
helps.
It's a percentage increase, so that will help out. Right. Next up, in terms of things that impact the game, is further weapon changes. Just to rattle through them quickly, ER smalls are always still quite. I always make fun of their terrible heat efficiency, and oh no, they've slightly improved their heat. Large lasers are were in a funny spot because they have about the same range as large pulse, but much more long burn time, and um, didn't really seem to have a niche. So what they've done is improve the heat efficiency a smidge for the large laser and given it a bit more range. But because the large laser is always sort of compared side by side with the ER large laser, that has also seen an improvement to its heat and range because both of these options weren't just compared to PPCs and large pulse, were sort of flagging a bit behind, it felt like. We have also for the PPCs that they've been fiddling with, the light PPC is receiving a smidge more damage. It was totally fine when you're combining it with Gauss rifles or something like that for a sniper build on a heavier mech, but they were hoping to make light PPCs more viable on smaller mechs. And the damage output of the weapon just was not not good enough. So yeah, it's a little bit better now. Snub nose, they've added an extra 0.5 damage to its pinpoint. To this, the component you hit, instead of doing 8 damage, you're doing 8.5, and you're still doing 1.5 damage splash. So just that extra little bit more pinpoint, but since you fire 3 of them together, that's 1.5 extra points of damage to that CT or whatever component you hit. So snubs are getting even more love than than what they've got thus far. And a change that I think people have been wanting for a long time, PPC, its damage drops off within minimum range, just like an
Wow.
LRM.
Yeah. Oh.
So, yeah, I think they wanted to make sure that PPC actually had a place because we have light PPC, we have snub, we have sort of heavy PPC with raw, just pinpoint damage, but the regular PPC doesn't seem to have much of a place. Well, let's just give it this, instead of having this ridiculous minimum range thing, make it a little bit more forgiving up close, make it more reasonable to actually take regular PPCs.
Because it was a range like 90, I think. Up,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for the
Yeah,
minimum.
90 with, as if anything got within 90, you were absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now if someone is kind of close to you, like 45 meters is pretty darn close, but you're still doing half damage. You're not completely helpless anymore.
True. True.
Now, is it a linear drop off or a flat
Curve?
curve thingy drop off?
I haven't actually looked at the curve. I swear it's isn't it a linear one?
Well, that's what you have patch notes for. Let me
Yeah.
check the ISPPC. Exponential damage fall of curve.
All right.
Alright, so yeah, you're not doing half damage at 45 meter, but it's still better than doing no damage. And
Yeah.
usually when you're gonna make like an awesome with those PPCs and you fight a light mech, they are not going to hug you for the most part. They're gonna try to waddle around you because oftentimes someone else is gonna be shooting at them at the same time. So there will be opportunities for you to do at least some damage when they get from 20 meters back to like 60 or something, and you can pop a shot off there and at least hurt them a bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Heavy small lasers have a little bit of reduction on their cooldown. Just to help. They have so much shorter range than regular smalls. They need to have that performance up close. Makes enough sense. Heavy medium lasers are always sort of in this funny spot where they give so much raw alpha damage, but you can't combine it so easily with other lasers, and it sort of just doesn't have. Like if you want a close quarters weapon, you're often much better off just doing like pulse weapons, particularly like with clan medium pulse being pretty deadly, and you can actually mass clan medium pulse more easily, or without waiting so long for the damn things to finish firing. So heavy medium lasers have also seen improvement for their cooldown and their duration. So if you're wanting to pump out that damage with a heavy medium laser, it does it much more quickly. And I kind of like that in a sense because I liked heavy mediums for smaller mechs because of their heat efficiency and just you get a good damage alpha for the tonnage you invest. And yeah, this just means I can get to the right spot, pour out all my damage and get really hot and then run away for a while. That's at least my game plan with the heavy mediums. Heavy large lasers got their range improved. Heat is improved a bit. They heavy larges are always sort of in this awkward spot where they have to compete with regular larges and large pulse. And large pulse, of course, got a huge buff recently. So I think a lot of people have just been moving over to large pulse rather than heavy larges. So just making their heat less punishing and their range a bit more forgiving, a bit more further ranging. It brings them more in line. It kind of feels to what the others can do. In the end, my personal opinion is all of these sort of can feel the same. You're just pointing and shooting, but it is what it is. And the heavy large did need some help. All right, large laser got similar treatment, just less heat, less more range, and a little bit shorter duration. So yeah, large pulse was doing way ahead, but in the end, all of these sort of feel the same and still are pretty good use, pretty useful weapons in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing to note for the
Yep.
laser weapons before we move on, all of these are buffs rather than nerving any overperformers. So from the Cauldron / PGI perspective, these are underperformers rather than the other energy weapons being overperformers. Again, I'm always very much against Laser Vomit. I absolutely hate facing it, and I've seen Laser Vomit go up a fair bit in the recent weeks and months. So
Yep.
I'm not too excited about any of these changes.
Yep. More buffed the lasers. Lasers that are easy to combine with other weapon systems and each other, and they always sort of functionally play the same. You can't really dodge the projectiles or anything like that. They're quite good against smaller mechs because they're hit scan. Yeah, it's just more buffs on top of previous buffs. Yeah, I mean, I think sadly a lot of us in the first second podcast aren't even playing MWO so much anymore because it is a bit more of a, I don't know, just a point and click meta for
Yeah.
lasers.
Yeah, like after the weapon rework, I definitely noticed like the first few times I was hit by laser vomit, I was like, okay, people are experimenting, and then just kept happening and kept happening, and it just feels so much more frustrating to die against lasers than it feels to die against projectile weapons.
Yeah. Particularly since we keep doing things like reducing their duration. Agility is up, of course, but it's
Yay.
if I want to play a hit scan game, I might as well just like play, Call of Duty, Overwatch, or something else. There's so many other games with better balance than MWO for hit scan gameplay, and I can like carry whole teams in like that way, because if you have an assault rifle and a good shot, you can shoot down 6 people in an instant. Whereas in MWO, you're always having to make do with whatever your team can manage. It's a team game primarily.
I'm wondering
And
about the
at
next
least
one.
personally, yeah, just to round off, like I think one thing, I'm not completely opposed to laser vomit, but whenever I start playing MWO, I like sort of easing my way in, and for me that was using a smaller mech with missile weapons. But that gameplay style has been heavily nerfed by the Cauldron, which is a real shame because for me that was my way to warm up before I have to be very precise with my mouse movements and aiming and all that. It's just I can aim. It's just that I like to warm up first. I want to just play a little bit casually before I put on my serious pants. All right, moving on to missiles. Inner Sphere Streak SRMs have had their nerfs half undone.
And what do you mean by half?
Yeah, so they just did a flat nerf to the cooldown, and now they're saying, "Oh well, yeah, we're undoing that half a little bit." And I have tried to discuss with the Cauldron, saying that their reasoning, they said, for Inner Sphere Streaks was, "Oh, we need to balance their DPS with SRMs," and I said, "Well, hang on a moment. These two weapon systems have very different ways they can deal damage. If I'm at close range with SRM, like a Griffin with SRM 24 or Streak 24, the SRM 24 should win because you can actually aim it, whereas the Streak needs you to get a lock, hold a lock, and it's just splatting damage all over the place. And I mean, the thing is, the Streak is 50% heavier. So what are we talking about when we're saying we're balancing the damage output? And I still haven't heard any answer or a reasonable explanation. It's just, oh, all we get is really what's in this patch notes. And yeah, I mean, thank you. It is good that they're undoing the needless nerf, but it still doesn't really make much sense to me that the inner sphere streaks, um, you can't combine them with ATMs. You can't have huge numbers of them like clan. So they have a very different balancing point. And yeah, well, it's a little bit of damage undone, and at least the missile health has been improved in the past. So, you know, 2 steps back, 1 step forward.
Yay.
Clan streaks have also having their changes half reverted as well. Um, so damage is going from 1.5 to 1.7, which again is leaving us in very funky damage numbers. It's kind of hard in my head to automatically calculate how much damage I'm sort of doing. When the missiles were doing 2 damage each, it wasn't too hard to think, oh, I've shot 18 missiles. Looks like about 2 or 3 of them got shot down. I have done 30 damage. But now it's 15 times 1.7, which I must admit I'm not able to do so easily in my head. um, in the end, with streaks, you're not always necessarily, you just keep shooting until they die, to be fair. But with more advanced streak play, you do want to sort of keep an idea of your actual TTK, and part of that is keeping a mind of the enemy's health pool and your damage output. Which is hard to do with these odd, obscure numbers. As it is, though, the DPS still remains buffed. Damage for heat is about the same; it's a little improved. Your damage per ton of ammo, which was of course a big unfortunate nerf before, is improved. But because you're firing faster, it means you burn through your ammo more quickly. So these changes, just like the very first changes for streaks, are sort of all over the place and don't really sort of achieve any consistent vision. they in the patch notes complain about. They say, oh, well, the reason we did the original changes was, because light mechs were getting nuked. But it, I remember your previous patch notes, and you talked about how they're feast or famine because of the long cooldown, and how, oh, if you miss, it doesn't hit the enemy, and oh, this it's just it didn't really make any sense. And now you've come up with different reasoning and just pretending that it's it's a consistent through line. And not only that, their logic doesn't really stand up to much scrutiny. Um, oh no, we've increased the DPS of the DPS weapon, and the weapon is taking longer to kill. No, a DPS weapon that has more DPS will kill faster. So, I mean, all we're doing is sort of trying to adjust the alpha sizes, which um, I mean, if you're worried about streaks nuking light mechs, in the initial alpha, that's what you're going to like. Why are you really primarily concerned about killing the light mech in one hit? In the end, if you do kill the light mech, lots and lots and lots of volleys more quickly, it just um, uh, it means that there's a dead light mech sooner rather than later anyway. So yeah, they gave us some terrible reasoning in the past, and now they've given us some new reasoning about, oh no, it doesn't kill so fast. Actually, it kills faster. You increase the DPS, dum dum. But whatever. We just got some crappy reasoning in the past, and we got some crappy reasoning now, and all these changes don't have any coherence to them, because fundamentally streaks can't be easily balanced with how their projectiles work. And you need to make sure that they have a sort of just a general performance against larger targets and smaller targets, and you can't do that until we get an engineer in. So I'm still of the opinion that these changes, I mean, it makes it a bit easier to sync clan streaks with ATMs again, which is nice. But all in all, they should just not have touched it, because they don't seem to understand at all how streaks played. And the most obvious telltale sign of that was, of course, they're like, oh no, ATMs are so feast or famine because their missiles get shot down. And it's like, you what, mate? You're just nerfing the streaks or changing the streaks, and you're not even touching the missile health. They have some really squishy missiles, and compared to ATMs. And you're like, oh no, the ATMs are getting shot down. Yeah, it feels like you've only played one of these weapon systems.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway,
Fighter's
some
rant.
more some more random, number changes for streaks. It is nice that they're slightly undoing the damage that's been done. They just shouldn't have done it in the first place. And I wish streaks, like the ammo, just the damage per ammo, ton per ammo is improved, but the ammo issues are still a problem. The heat issues are still a problem that they introduced. So yeah, this is just a huge detriment to the game, at least for those who do actually enjoy streak play. And they kill lights fastest, so woohoo! Doesn't matter anyway. Everyone's just using laser vomit. So moving on.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the biggest point. Honestly, streaks at this point don't matter when you have a weapon that you just aim at the enemy, click, and the light mech is dead.
I mean, the only time I
Why
use
do we even
streaks,
care about projectile weapons at this point?
yeah, like the only time I use streaks is on my Kentaro, and I change it, either from 4 to 6, depending on like what I want to do. And it's fun, and I kill lights quickly. But that's the only really thing I use streaks on. The rest I just laser vomit or just alpha strike vomit.
It's
I
still
have a lot of streak weapons, a lot of streak mechs, and light mechs honestly have a easier time surviving against me than most assault mechs, for the simple fact light mechs are fast. They're just gonna hug me, break my lock. I can't shoot them, or if they're fast, they're gonna dive into cover before I can really kill them.
Yeah.
And that's always been the case. So it's if I have lasers though, they try and hug me, click, you're dead.
Okay.
I think it feels like, to me at least, what I've seen, it's still a lot of heavier mechs. Like the meta is still predominantly
Yeah,
heavies and
very
assaults and
much.
stuff. Um, I attribute this more to just sort of the dissipation meta and everything else. But it's just basically, when you have so much heat to play with, you might as well have a 17-ton mech rather than a 30-ton mech, because that 17-ton mech has just got so much more firepower and survival. Yeah, that's what matters, just pumping out your damage. Lights don't have the time, they don't have a unique place to play in the heat meta because everyone just has so much dissipation to play with.
Okay.
Do you know if anyone ever made a list of damage per second per ton invested? That might be interesting.
Yeah, it's relatively simple to do. I think a fair number of
Yeah.
spreadsheets do that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought about that earlier, especially when you said the age-old argument of balancing streaks versus regular SRMs. It's just, yeah, just add in the per ton, and you can see very easily that streaks are far inferior than SRM 6s if you balance them against each other.
Against the tonnage, yeah. I mean, at least as we're talking regards to the smaller mechs, carry on my own through fault lines. There's always this tricky thing that smaller mechs you want to use like medium lasers, medium pulse. It's kind of hard to shove large lasers into them really, or anything else larger than that. So laser play, if you make medium lasers too good, well, they could just be used on bigger mechs. So yeah, just use a bigger mech with a whole bunch of mediums and larges in a big alpha strike. Missiles, doing things like buffing AMS, of course, is going to hurt smaller missile play because light mechs can fit in a bunch of SRMs, they can fit in a bunch of ATMs or LRMs. Not a big alpha strike, but with their mobility, they can get to the right spot to use that well. But well, if you encourage everyone to take an AMS launcher, AMS, that is going to shoot down X number of missiles. And if you only have an alpha strike of 24 missiles rather than 48, that hurts you more than the bigger mech. So yeah, lasers, it just with the current way dissipation has worked, light mechs don't really have a place with their lasers other than just precision charging in with a medium pulse laser and getting really good little snipes in. But missile play, yeah, that's needed help for a while, and they with the AMS changes and everything else, it's falling behind.
Okay. Let's go to ballistics.
All right, LB5 has its slot reduced again, so reduced back to, so it has the same size as AC5, which I think is perfectly fine change for this game because as far as it goes, instead of, why would you choose LB5 instead of AC5? Well, it has a different projectile and it's slightly cooler. But before you had to pay an extra slot for that as well, and it's like, really? I mean, I'm losing pinpoint damage for a little bit of heat and I have to spend an extra slot for it. It just makes no sense why a more advanced autocannon, the LBs should be, technically further along than the timeline, should be larger. So, yep, it being 4 slots, I could say I would be happy with it being 3 slots. But yep, 4 slots, it's just an alternative 85 now, which is totally fine. I think we still need to do further reductions to like LB2 slots. I think that's still, fairly big compared to the AC2. And that spreads damage and is only slightly cooler as well. So, why do we need all these slot changes to weapons that are just offering slightly different projectiles? That's at least my thought on the matter.
Okay.
Well, with with LBs versus regular, the LBs have traditionally always been bigger but slightly lighter. As far as I can remember in Mechwarrior Online, the LBs have the same weight as the non-LB.
Is originally they're going by tabletop values, so it's the same weight, but LB2, LB5, LB20 are all bigger, whereas the old classic LB10 was of course smaller and lighter. So LB10 has always been sort of a good side option to the AC10, and in fact often superior just because you spend one less turn, one less slot, and you've got a cooler weapon system, but it spreads damage. But what we got here is these all LB2, LB5, LB20, same weight and bigger.
I
which
rarely
just
used LB5s. Rarely. I mean,
I've never used the LB5.
yeah.
I still won't. AC5s, LB5s are both kind of lackluster with that long cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
You're much better off, like, if you're just wanting to be at long range and hold down the trigger, AC2 is way more slot efficient. Instead of 4 slots, it's 1 slot. One brilliant, tiny little slot.
I remember a couple times where I did use regular AC5s, but that's down to specific mechs that came out at the time and what
And of
Well, they
course,
were nerfed.
hard points they had.
Like back in like I think you can still do okay with a mauler with like 5 AC5s or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Like before they nerfed the cooldown, that was a really powerful punch that happened every second or so. But now it happens almost every 2 seconds, which is just so less impactful. It's still a good 25 damage punch, but it's just AC5s are kind of a bit lackluster right now.
Mm. Yeah,
Or
I think the only times I use them is when it has some type of quirk system saying, -20 or, like -20% cooldown or something like that, just for AC5s or, something like that. But literally it's like 10s and 20s and maybe some
most
2s.
most ballistic and sphere mechs usually have like universal cooldown,
Yeah.
and they only have like an extra 5 or 10% for the AC5. But that's not enough to make it worth it compared to just taking either AC2s or LB10s.
Yeah, yeah.
LB10 just gives you that great close range punch with a quick follow up, whereas AC2s, if you're staring at long range, it does the same thing just as well. It's like AC5s have this awkward spot of being a bit of a generalist. Like they could do the AC10, AC2 job and the LB10 job, just that they have the good range and the damage over time, but they also they can be used up close and have a good punch to them. So
Yeah.
that's where they got kind of nerfed into the ground, but they're still stuck in the ground. You can combine them like I think you could do stuff like 2 Ultra 10s and 2 AC5s, and that has a good punch. But it's not on the back of the AC5. It's more on the back of the fact you're in a Fafnir and you've invested a lot of tonnage into this Alpha Strike that has a good follow up.
Yeah. Okay. Next we got patch notes, right? Patch notes.
Well, this is what's in the
Well,
Really
yeah,
quick
yeah,
patch.
yeah,
though.
yeah.
I'm just switching off by this spreadsheet. So for the guys listening to this not on YouTube, links are gonna be in the description for the spreadsheet that we've been talking about for the past few minutes. And now we're gonna go over the actual page notes and talk about the things that ran in the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Because
The main thing there is just what was it Canyon Network and Polar Highlands rework.
Yeah.
And then we can go into the other tabs for Warden Pack. But
Mhm.
Canyon Network, just a neat little update is I think they added a bunch of water to the map just to try and
Yeah.
change the look of it and stuff.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
like
Yeah,
I
that's
like the
cool.
idea, and then especially this last sentence. This is temporary condition and is subject to change in an upcoming patch. That is exciting to me. Like the
Hmm.
idea of maps changing regularly with like weather conditions, or maybe there's suddenly a crash dropship in the center of the map. That is such a cool idea. I
Hmm.
really hope
Hmm.
they follow through on this and do it with more maps.
Do you ever think they're gonna actually have water that will cover the whole mech, like a salt mech or something? Like let's say Canyon actually gets fully, done basically. So
Flooded.
yeah, flooded.
Like
Yeah,
proper underwater battles, I don't
yeah,
think so.
yeah. I think that'd be kind of neat.
Underwater battles were really cool in like okay, in Living Legends they're really cool because it's
Hmm.
Living Legends. But for the most part, if you want to do underwater combat, you kinda also need to implement some special conditions for weapon firing underwater, like
There
Mechwarrior 3.
are
Yeah,
Yeah, there are special conditions, I think, but the way they're currently implemented would result in a whole bunch of nonsense, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure of all the behavior. I know at least with like lasers, what happens is, depending on how far it travels through water, it will drop off its damage.
Yeah.
So beyond a certain point, the water will actually absorb all the damage. Um, so if you flood the whole map, then it means all laser weapons have an effective range of only 200 meters, let's say. Um, and there's funny questions of how high you raise the water level. Like you actually fill the canyons, but you can still walk around on the raised areas. Well, how do LRMs and DACA and stuff? How
yep,
how do they enter the thing,
yep,
and
yep.
do they have damage drop off,
Yeah.
etc., etc.? I think the way it's implemented in game is probably your mech was only ever going to get a little bit of water, so it was getting a huge benefit.
It's
So
like
they
that.
would have to change how water works to make underwater combat
Yes.
viable.
Yeah, like, it's kind of like the pipe dream of hand-to-hand combat, like in MechWarrior Online. It's just not going to happen whatsoever. It could be too much for them to implement, like inside the game. Too much stuff. So yeah, yeah. I think it'd be
Also,
kind of cool though.
if you're one of the guys who are in the water as well, at least it's a question of how the game even renders or looks when you're underwater. We can see it when you're in a flea or a locust and you're really small,
Hmm.
and it's really murky. So like your actual visibility range is heavily reduced. So any people stuck in deep water in an assault mech is kind of going to be floundering and can't see where they're going. They have the mini map, but
Yeah.
MWO mini map isn't always the best.
Yeah.
Which adds
So
in that you would need sensor combat would have to be more of a thing, so you actually like could navigate inside the water, maybe be partially invisible to everyone else, but in exchange you also don't really know where you're going. It's too much for Macro Online.
effectively like being in heavy fog, which limits your visuals and weapons to firing with only within 200 meters. And so you're just stumbling around and you have to be a brawler.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to
Um,
play water, play Mechwarrior Living Legends.
yeah. Thing to note with this water change though is that it does actually impact leg heat sinks. So if you're a clan mech and you put your heat sinks in your legs, you have a bit better cooling. And if you're a teeny tiny mech and you're able to get down enough into the water, yep, you can use your torso heat sinks.
Okay. Okay, so Polar Highlands, what they change on that one?
Right. Polar
Building
Highlands
placement.
has been vastly changed. Last patch, this time they've fixed a couple of the bugs that have been found. Like there were some rocks you could shoot through. Some. I mean, they what did you some mixed game glitching spots. It's been slightly touched on, and some of the more troublesome areas have been removed.
They're
Just bug
fixing,
fixes
yeah,
for this.
bug
Yeah.
fixes. Okay, not bad.
All right.
It always sucks those times when you're trying to, jump up on top of a thing and you get stuck in perpetual limbo.
All right. Miscellaneous stuff.
Ah, yes.
Siebel themed decals have been added. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
I thought we had one. Okay. Now we have different Siebel ones. Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've never really
And
tried
we
to put
have
seatbelts on my mech, but yep, you can now more
yeah,
role play as
yay.
a bounty hunter.
And we have known issues. Those are kind of rare. Usually, PGI manages to fix the issues in time. Some hardpoint issues for the Direwolf. Yeah, 2 hardpoint issues for the Direwolf.
And torso. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Dark.
Nothing major. We're gonna get a hotfix for this presumably next Tuesday, so I'm not concerned about those.
But it doesn't consume ammo. Infinite ammo narc from the Direwolf. Infinite spotting. Oh no.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay.
I mean,
So,
hey, for Narc, it's actually kind of interesting, because it has so little ammo.
Yeah,
You can
its ammo
just
is kind of terrible and its duration keeps getting nerfed.
Yep.
So
Yep. So
yeah.
now you can just set it up, weapon group 6, set up a macro on your keyboard to auto-fire weapon group 6 every 7 seconds, and just permanarc, I guess.
Oh, the long cooldown is so unfun.
Yeah, I know.
so what we got next is the Warden pack, or are we doing
Yes.
patch notes yet? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Warden pack.
Yeah, Warden pack. I've seen it. I didn't get it though. I'm space poor, so I didn't really get that kind of stuff. But it looks interesting. I think we talked about it like last time in the preview of it. I love the colors. I love the elementals like on top. I think that's a great freaking thing they did. Finally bringing battle armor into Mechwarrior Alliance, especially with the clans. They added some stuff. Um, I didn't really see performance wise because I was just watching like other people's streams or watching other people like use it. But I mean it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean they did
I
a
mean,
good
that's
job on it.
what we have the biter for. So for Bob and me, this pack has mostly been about visuals and the cool factor, and that is definitely there.
Yeah.
Seeing these mechs in game, the camo scheme looks absolutely amazing. The battle armor is really fun. We're gonna talk a tad more about both of those things in a second. But before Biter jumps out of his chair, do you want to talk us through the quirks and performance of these mechs?
All right,
um
so
yeah.
yeah, I haven't had a chance. I didn't get the pack, so I haven't had a chance to really see how they perform. The um the quirks for them, at least the Timberwolf gets a bit of survival all across the place. It has. I think initially they wrote it as pulse laser heat generation like minus 75%, but now it's just 7.5%. So it's just a laser vomit Timby, which has a bit more. If you stick with the starting omnipods, you have a bit of heat gen, which is quite distinct
Yep.
for clan mech. Um,
Very
I
low
was
hanging
thinking
hard points,
initially
though, if
like
you want to use that.
75. I was thinking initially at 75%, that was pretty crazy. But it's like, wait, you know what? We have so much heat to play with anyway. It's not like people have to worry about. Like, all this is doing is stopping you. It saves you from using your cool shots. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Though, yeah, things like what sensor range just helps you see the other ECM, since there's more ECM being added to the game day after day, which again makes it harder for missile mechs. And target info gathering, because you got to know instantly where to shoot the right component. But at least that's a skill-based thing rather than just a cooldown buff or something like that. So fine enough. And the Direwolf.
This smells like an activate enhanced image, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, that'd be so cool if they put that in just for clans. That'd be neat.
Yeah, I think after the jersey changes, Timberwolf, people love the Timberwolves, and it's much more seen in the game. It doesn't have to just be an LRM support boat. It's much more seen as a laser boat, and this one plays as that with ECM on top. So nice one for that. Direwolf, though, I feel like from what I've seen, the usage of it has dropped off quite a bit because,
Yep.
well, it has a whole bunch of missile hardpoints, but missiles aren't heavy enough, and missiles have been nerfed quite a bit. So just take your laser varmint, just take your DACA, point and click. This thing is nice because it has ECM and it's jump jets, and it's got Seaboard boost.
Yep.
The
I've
quirks
seen,
are okay.
yeah, for the Direwolf, I've seen a couple LRM support Direwolves, which is obviously not that great of an idea in a Direwolf. You're too slow to really play LRM. And I
Yeah.
mean, the people who bought the pack, I think, and from what I've seen in the forums, mostly bought it for the visuals and the elemental bolt-ons.
Yeah.
And since they do have two options between a Timby and a Dire, most people just play the Timby because it's prettier and at least it does something.
Yep. And thing to note, at least last thing, the only notable thing, sort of other than the equipment of the ECM and jump jets of the Direwolf, is sort of the legs. I think jump jet burn time quirks on those omnipods,
Yeah.
which
Hmm.
is pretty swift, pretty neat because um, you can take a fair number of jump jets with the Direwolf, but it always couldn't jump that high. Well, that duration got buffed, and this adds a percentage increase. So instead of taking something like extra armor or reverse acceleration or reverse speed or something like that, there's tiny little changes that you can have with different legs. Well, this is what this one offers. So for the short time being, if you pay money, you have the ability to jump higher with your Direwolves.
That's
Okay.
cool. Yeah, I completely missed that. Having differences between the legs of the omnipods. Yay, that's actually cool.
Yeah, I like that idea because it gives you an actual purpose for the omnipods. Because a lot of omnimechs have like so many head omnipods, but they do nothing. They have so many leg omnipods, but they have no differences between them. No hardpoint choices, no nothing. So what's the point in them?
Yeah, at that point they should have been just unified into one thing.
Yep, but since they aren't, and it's all part of everyone's inventories, you could do stuff like different bonuses for the legs, and I would like to see different center buffs for the head. Just things like targeting
Do you guys
time, sensor
usually,
range.
when you sell the Omnimech, do you sell the Omnipods with it, or do you keep them
I keep
and
them.
just have a large variety of Direwolf legs somewhere in your hangar stored away?
Just keep
Yeah,
them.
I like having all of them listed as I own one at least, so I have the option. So if ever they do finally make them worth having, I won't have to suddenly invest the millions of C-bills to buy all the various options again.
Yeah, don't you have like a billion C-bills or something?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
don't need the C-bills. I
Yeah.
may as well hold on to the option, and it just looks a little nicer on my option screen.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So that's the Warden pack in game, and then out of game. Okay, let's do the
One thing
pack
on
challenge then first.
cosmetics, we like the look of it, but what do you guys think of the elementals?
Cool. Like when we get to the selfie contest, I'll get.
Let's just dive into it because honestly, it's the most exciting thing
Yeah. Okay.
about this
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the selfie.
So the
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
whole thing started. Someone posted some cool screenshots on Twitter, and Darren was like, "That's cool, send me more." And then it kind of escalated, and now we have a selfie contest where I can actually win a really good amount of MC. And of course, your website is down during the podcast, but god damn it.
Except for me.
Sorry. I think it was Will that actually started it. Will 1119, I believe, and he did some really good shots of each clan. Jade Falcon, Clan Wolf, Clan Smoke Jaguar, and some other clan. I forget what it was, but just really good screenshots of them, and it was just amazing. It looked just like the clan mechs that are from that time, just for this, just for them, and really nice, really nice. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. With these art contests, though, there's there's usually a fair number of entries, and there's only so many prizes to go out. But I think it's not just our top three favorites. It's like, yeah, top three favorites, but most nostalgic and also hardest on the eyes.
Yeah.
So you are incentivized if you want to try and go for a different category to make some eye cancer or something much more lore based. Because sometimes the lore doesn't always look the prettiest, but yeah, it's really good that you chose something thematic. And yeah, I'm glad that they've come up with these extra categories. And it's a lot of MC if you do win.
Yeah, I know. That is a lot.
Yeah, what
So yeah, you can get some really cool prizes. I would love to show it for you guys on YouTube. Sadly, I can't right now, so please check out the link in the description and take a
Oh.
look at those entries. There are some really cool entries there. There are some very nostalgic entries in there, and there is definitely a lot of eye cancer in there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but it's eye cancer.
Okay.
What's your impressions on the bolt-ons?
Which ones?
Just the
No,
elementals.
I
I
like
love
them.
them. I
Yeah,
absolutely love them.
I
Yeah,
like them too.
I wish I could play around with them, but again, I didn't get the pack, so I'll play around with them soon.
Yeah. I think it's cool, like with Will actually making the elementals being the same color as far as Jade's Falcon, like all that kind of stuff. So, and Clan Wolf and stuff. They actually, I mean, it looks beautiful as far as like when they change their colors instead of like just neon whatever, basically. But yeah, I think they're awesome. I like them. I don't know if they're actually going to be available for all mechs later on, like a couple months from now or something like that. But
No.
no, it'll just be for these
It's a
guys.
bit like the dragon bolt-ons are only available for that particular
Oh, okay. Yeah.
dragon. At some point, you might make it available to all dragons, but we aren't even at that point with any of the bolt-ons
Yeah.
or
Okay.
the recent packs.
It'd be cool if
So
they
I
did
think
though.
it's only with this pack and these particular mechs that you can put these elementals on. So at least, hey, they have made the elemental models, so they can, fiddle around with them and put them on other mechs in game. Just takes a bit more effort.
Are you having trouble, Ian?
Yep. Having trouble. I'm
Yeah,
just
or
showing
at
you
least,
a picture of the one back one.
yeah. I think my own personal opinion is just that the target look of the paint scheme of the Timberwolf and Direwolf, they're very vibrant, and so the elementals for the most part have to match that as well.
Yeah.
And usually, what it means is this: you pick two of the same vibrant, like the elementals are just the same vibrant color, and they all sort of just mix together. And from afar,
Yeah.
it's just these little dots. They're just these little tiny garden gnomes on the mech. Or you make the elementals a very different color from the thing, and then they look a bit like they look usually like an eyesore. They just sort of it's a bit like whenever I painted my Warhammer 40,000 models, I just used very simple colors to paint the shoulder pads and this, that, and the other. And it's a vibrant army, or well, it's good enough, but it's not. It's not a very fancy aesthetic to say the least. But hey, at least if you like that kind of stuff, it's there in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Not bad. I I like it. It's kind of cool. But I'm a lore freakazoid, so that's what I wanted like inside the game. Even though I'm not a clan person, but still, it's just neat to have these like in there.
Yep.
And then going along with the Warden pack, we have the Warden Booster Pack Challenge event, where you can play with your fancy new mechs, both in the regular and the special version, depending on which level of the pack you bought. And you can get some additional stuff. Oh no, I just realized the first challenge is really bad.
Oh
You
man.
need to have the special variant to get the 7 days of premium time. Okay, never mind. Everything else is mostly as normal, and yeah, if you have the mechs, use them a couple times and you'll get some extra stuff.
Yeah. Okay. That's standard
And
with the big booster packs and all that kind of stuff. They
it
have these
looks
kind of
about the
things.
same as before, honestly, if not exact same. Because I think you had to do that as well with the your Dragon Slash Thunderbolt pack. Win one match with each of them to earn the premium time, which is
Oh,
always
okay.
at least one victory isn't too hard, but yeah, you have to do it 4 times.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's not about the about the having to play a match or win a match with all of them. It's more of a, if you only bought the, wait, hold up a second, you can't buy the
The Warden
mechs
pack always
without
gives
the
you
special.
all 4 of these mechs. So what you have to do is
Oh
to make
yeah.
sure you earn the things with the regular variants before you sell them. If you rush to sell
Yeah,
them off,
yeah, that
you
was the issue with
that was the issue. And good thing with the Warden pack, they're Omni mechs. So as long as you have a good Timberwolf build that you can throw together, you can get a win fairly easily. The problem with the Thunderbolt and Dragon was that they're really lethargic hardpoints.
Yeah.
And
that.
so you were actually required to get a win in these lethargic mechs, and it was just that was a little painful. It's like I just want
Yeah,
to sell it. I don't want to keep earning. I don't want to keep earning skill points for my Thunderbolt. I just want to use the special variant once I'm done with this. All right.
that's just the normal pack challenge. And then last up, you can also buy all Direwolves and Timberwolves are 50% off in game. You can also buy patterns for cheap, mech base for cheap. That's always great. Pick up mech base whenever they're 50% off. And colors are 50% off. So, yep,
That's pretty
pick up
good.
colors.
Yeah.
July 28th. So let's check by Monday. You will still have 2 days to buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you're looking for mech base colors or patterns for a Dire and Timby, buy them now while they're still hot.
But it's still hot. Okay.
Are they hot? I have no
I
idea.
haven't checked. The thing is, um, they gave a free Tibby away earlier, so there's not much point in buying another one. So like the only reason you would want 50% off is like for Omnipods and also to buy a dire whale if you really wanted. Yeah, it's just there's not so much utility when you gave this mech away recently. That was 2 months ago actually, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, is that all for today for the First Circuit Podcast 151, or do we have anything
hmm
else? Okay.
I mean, those are the topics, unless you want to tell us more stories about going alt, Bob.
Pick up one of
No.
these. It's gonna help you. Gonna help you.
But yeah, to wrap up at least
How are
Mechwarrior
your
Living Logic.
knees? How's your back?
Oh
Are
man,
you
my
feeling
knees
it
and
yet?
back suck, dude. Oh my god, arthritis in the hands. That kind of thing. It's like we.
But yeah, to wrap up my thoughts a little, like, just because we covered so many topics, MechWarrior Living Legends, it's trucking along. If you're the original game or the
Yeah.
standalone future game. MechWarrior 5, very little sort of been worked on it. We'll wait and see what the actual DLC, of any future DLC or whatever comes out.
Big notes
MechWarrior
though,
Online.
Mechwarrior 5, the Yet Another Mech Lab mod is in beta testing. You can download it from Mod Nexus in its beta state. So very soon you will be able to do full customization Mechwarrior 5 again via
Okay.
mod.
Ooh, very good.
Cool.
And yeah, MechWarrior Online, we got jump jet changes, some more buffs to lasers and stuff, some undoing of the damage before. Yeah, it's trucking along. Um, I wonder what the next mech pack will be. How will they upstage the Warden pack? What will they do to keep give people a reason to buy it?
Vehicles.
I, as far as I'm aware, in future patches, what's coming next will probably be quirk changes, and it won't be all at once. Thank God. It will hopefully be reasonable scale and targeted, targeting certain mechs with interesting changes. Though we have to wait and see. I imagine they want to implement a whole bunch of different quirks, but you have to actually test them.
Yeah.
So first things first is the easy to implement quirks that we actually know can be implemented in the game easy peasy. But as ever with MWO, we just have to wait and see. We don't get
Yeah,
to see
that's
you don't get to see or chat too much about the actual future course of the game. It's just whatever the cauldron decides.
Yeah.
let's see how many typos they put in with the quirks.
Okay. So, everyone, that was the episode of 151 of the First Circuit Podcast. Tonight's hosts were Ian.
Bye bye. See you
Um,
soon.
my dear.
Hello, bye bye.
And myself, Bobot10025. And thank you for actually being part of the community of the First Circuit Podcast and all the support you guys give. We will see you on the battlefield.